Hi, Frank here, and let's finish this zombie that I created earlier, and we'll just add some quick shading to it. I have the lower jaw already in there, but what I'll do here is just add some shadows to it, give it a little more detail. So let's start with just a quick shade. That's a little too heavy on the opacity. So let's go and try that again. And the source will be on the left side of light. So let's just create this shadow on the side of the head, on the face of the zombie. And the ear sticks out a little bit, but still you could have that whole ear in shadow if you want. And then as I get to this part, I could just have that part have some light to it. So we'll just make this really basic, nothing fancy or anything. Now we'll reduce the scale of the pen and then just add some smaller shadows over here. Now you can see as you overlap the first shadow, it darkens the current shadow with the overlap, but that's okay. And then we'll just add some darker shadow under the eye. You could go for a cell shaded look or go with more detail. Right now I'm just going with a cell shaded style, just to keep it simple. I can make it really detailed and heavily shaded, but we'll just simplify it. Otherwise that'll take like an hour. This particular zombie face, I might use it for a project or a film or animation, and it might not. I'm not sure yet. I have a whole bunch of ideas I want to work on. I actually had a full script written for a new film, and then I said, well, let me just put it aside and let it sit for a couple weeks or a month or whatever. So then I did that, and when I wrote it I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I like the story. It's a good story and characters and character motivation and a good plot, and you know, it's something that would inspired me to create a whole film over a course of, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And then I came back to the script and I read it, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. A lot of ideas, well, not a lot of ideas, just one major plot point, it just didn't seem to work. It was almost like kind of not what I was going for, and I was like, how am I going to fix that? I mean, that was the whole point of why I made that story, to focus on that whole concept. But when I look back on it, the concept was fine, but just the way I was telling the story with the concept, it seemed a little off with the whole logic of it. It just didn't seem very logical. So I put it on hold. I might come back to it and just adjust it a little bit. It'd probably take a bit of an adjustment with the script. I have to develop a really good reason for it. Maybe it's not as difficult to understand the logic of it if I come back to it again. I don't know, but I think I could come up with better stories. So I'm just gonna put that on hold for now. But yeah, it was a whole feature-length script, but you have to really want to feel motivated enough before you start jumping into it. So that's why I put that one on hold. I have a whole nother idea for a story. I just gotta think of the main motivations for the main character. So there we go, we got the top part done there, and we're just gonna highlight the lower jaw. There we go. And we'll just continue with the shadows, really basic shadows, and just hold that pen down, and that will allow you to get a solid shadow in there. So this is looking pretty decent. When I first drew it, I was like, well, I don't know, it looks a little weird. But now that I'm adding detail and shadows and stuff like that, it looks a little bit better in my creative eye. I'm not going for perfection or anything like that. It's just a quick, fun drawing of a zombie, but I could probably use it in something. I mean, these lines are a little too much detail with a cell animated cartoon, but I mean, I guess you could have a lot of detail. I've seen like some of the animated series from the 1980s, and of course even today, but the ones that were cell animated by hand, some of the detail in the characters, to have to be able to draw that frame to frame and keep track of all those details. Like, look at all these little bumps on the zombie. Just imagine you had to redraw this zombie, the whole face, every single frame, and you had like 500 frames or more. You'd need a large team to be able to do that. If you're just one person, it's just not practical. And that's why I prefer this, what I would call stop frame animation, where you just take, like, it's almost like puppet animation, where you have like a puppet and then you just, wow, that's weird, why is it doing that? And then you just go into the animation with the puppet, and you just rotate the frames of the puppet. So it's a lot, to me it's a lot more fun to do it that way versus having to draw every single frame. I remember hearing a story about Disney's Fox and the Hound, and they said at some point one of the animators got so bored drawing the same image, just slightly different poses, that they were like, wow, this is really boring to have to draw this over and over and over. And if they had a different way of doing it, where you didn't have to draw the same image over and over, I guess that would defeat the whole purpose of traditional animation, where you have to actually draw the same character over and over and over. I've done it, and it's really tough. One of the toughest things about it is the tracking of all these pieces and parts as the character moves, and even the volume. You have to keep such a consistent volume, because if you start increasing the size of the skull slowly or even drastically, it's going to look like the skull is like pulsating or wobbling. It look really weird. But there we go. There's our zombie, and let's. Well, I pressed the wrong button. Let's go to the jaw. After that settles in, and here's the jaw. So we'll just move the jaw down and see what he looks like when his jaw opens. There it is. And this program's trying to catch up to what I'm doing here. Alright. So there's the zombie with his jaw open. And we'll just close it for now. But that's it for now. And maybe we'll put this in a movie or a cartoon or animation. Thanks for watching.